Is it recording? Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to For His Name's Sake. Last time, Valentine and I spoke about how a godly man should be from a woman's perspective. And you'll know why we taught it instead of my husband. Go back to the other video and you'll learn why. And today we're going to be doing the Proverbs 31 woman, which that's not really the name. It's called the Virtuous Wife from verses 10 through 31. And we're going to kind of do it kind of like a miniature Bible study way of doing it, if you will. Don't worry, it won't be boring. It's been very interesting for us to learn, so I'm sure it'll be interesting to you to learn. And this can pertain to if you're not a mother or you're not a wife, that's okay. Maybe you strive to be someday. Maybe you were once in that position. I don't know. Or you can look to your mother. You can look at your sister, your aunt, your friend. Any female that you know and you're a Christian, how she should be according to God, what He would want us women to be. And so, we already prayed beforehand. We prayed before we do all these videos. So we'll just get right to it. And we're gonna kind of break it up where I will take 5 to 6 verses and kind of give you those verses, and then I'll briefly talk about them, and then Valentine will go, and then I'll go, and we'll just kind of back and forth so that you're not listening to just one voice the whole time. Okay, so I will begin with verse 10, and I'm using the New King James Version. You can use whatever version you would like. So here we go. Who can find a virtuous wife, for her worth is far above rubies? Well, I have a low vocabulary. I didn't even know what the word virtue meant. For those of you who are in my shoes, virtue is having a showing of high moral standards. And so I just want to say a little thing about rubies. I was reading that Bible verse, for her worth is far above rubies, and I thought, why not gold? Why not diamonds? You know, diamonds is fancier than, you would think that would be more expensive than rubies or a higher value, but I had no idea about this. It said, I was doing some research, rubies are among the most costly gemstones sold around the world. Depending on the size of the stone, they can run anywhere from $300 to $250,000 per carat. Oh my goodness. Wow, I had no idea. And on a side note, I had some ruby jewelry, and I brought it to a jeweler, and he didn't give me that much for it. I'm thinking, I think I got, what's the word I'm looking for? I got taken advantage of there a bit. But anyway, oh well. But they're also more valuable than sapphires and emeralds. So just to give you a picture of how much she is worth, far above rubies, far above $250,000. Okay. Okay, going on to verse 11. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. The gain here is not just financial. He doesn't have to worry about where food's going to come from on the table. Let's just say that she's doing quite a bit of the work as far as getting the food on the table, having the dinner done, whatever, clothing to wear, because she's going to make all that. He doesn't need to worry about all that. That's basically what that's talking about. He's going to be content knowing that she's got that all taken care of. Then verse 12, she does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She's never spiteful. I'm going to get you back for what you said to me. That'd be kind of spiteful. So she's not like that. She's gentle in her words. She's careful what she says and how she says it. And she's like that with him and with her children and with people around her that she sees. And she's definitely not vengeful. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. She's not like that at all. Then verse 13, she seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She's skilled in homemaking skills, makes her own soaps, her own kind of what we discussed in the last one. And seeking means she is selective in choosing quality items. So she's going to get the best linens to make her clothes and the best products to make her soaps. I thought that was kind of neat, choosing quality items. And then, so wool and flax. Flax, when I hear the word flax, I immediately think of flax seeds, and I thought, how is she going to work with flax seeds? But no. The flax is an actual plant, as I just learned today, made of bright blue flowers and a yellowish stem used to make linen and other textiles. So that's what she's using. She's selecting the best wool and the best flax to make her clothing, to get the materials to make her clothing at home. I thought that was nice. So she's going to be very selective. Then we go into verse 14. And I'm sorry if it feels like I'm rushing, but we have 31 verses to go through in just 29 minutes. So, okay, verse 14, she is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. Again, I didn't know what a merchant ship was. It's basically a ship that carries cargo and, believe it or not, people for hire. So slaves back in the day. She was willing to go far away to get the best food for her family. Just like merchant ships, they go to faraway distant lands to bring all that cargo and all those things back, the spices and foods. And she's willing to go the extra mile to go through a lot just to bring back the best of the best for her family. Verse 15, she also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her maidservants. So she's an early riser. While it's still dark, she's getting up and getting to the chores, getting things done, milking the cow, whatever she needs to do, and then prepares food, getting food ready, milk the cow, get ready to do the milk and the churning of the butter and things like that, for example. And it shows that she's truly dedicated to her family. And then she also provides, she's also not just thinking about her own family, but she's also caring for her maidservants. And back in the Bible days, maidservants, I looked that up, those were slaves. So imagine that. Someone, you hear all these bad things about masters being mean to their slaves, but in this case, she was very loving and kind and gentle and cared for them, just as if they were her own family, and provided food for them. I thought that was neat reading about that. Okay, and then I think do I take the next?
Me.
15. Okay,
16,
then you
yeah.
take the next ones.
Okay, so starting in verse 16. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. And the word consider means she's having a thought. She's not randomly choosing something that's going to be detrimental to her family's finances. She's going to carefully think about what's the best thing to invest in something for my family in the long run. Not something that's going to be temporary and, like the stock market, for example. No offense if you're in the stock market, but you can't trust them. They go up and down a lot. She's really thinking about what's best for her family. And a field and a vineyard, that's hard work. I did some research when I read a book about vineyards. That's a lot of work. But in the end, if you do well in it, it produces a lot for your family, for wine, for medicine. So she was thinking clearly about that one. Okay, verse 17. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. And the word gird actually means to put on a belt. Or you heard the phrase in the Old Testament, gird up the loins. You're getting ready for something, you're getting ready to run. It's used when the Israelites were getting ready to leave Egypt. They gird themselves up. Physical labor. So she's a woman who's on the go. She's not just lazing around on the couch. Not that she can't have a rest. That's important. Even Jesus himself rested. But she's not just having others do the work for her. She wants to be strong for her family. Okay, verse 18. She perceives her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. So kind of like when Mom was explaining about how the woman is careful about what she chooses. If she gets something cheap, then that was kind of a waste of money. She wants to get good merchandise. And her lamp does not go out by night. So she picks the best quality oil. If she gets a cheap oil, it's going to run down. And, they didn't have electricity back then, so lamps was essential. For the type of homes that they lived in especially. They needed the light to see. And she's a busy woman, and she needs that lamp. Okay, verse 19. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. And these were made to spin wool or flax, like she was saying, or to make thread. And this is before spinning wheels, and I didn't get a picture of it, but I just know that the distaff is a straight rod, and the spindle is round. So picture a very old type spinning wheel, before spinning wheels, if that makes sense. Okay, verse 20. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. So she's not just thinking about her family. She's a compassionate woman. She cares about what's going on outside of her home, and she cares about them. I think it's interesting how there's two different words, poor and needy. Poor is like really run down, ragged. It even said wretched. And needy could be in want, or it could also be those who are of the lowest class. So she seems like a pretty well-to-do woman, but she's also a wise woman, which is why she's so well-to-do. But yet, that she was even willing to go to the lowest class, and back then I don't think that was a thing. You could see that in the Gospels, you know. Jesus himself went to the lower class people, like shepherds and tax collectors, people like that. And she reaches her hand to them. You know, she's not greedy, she's giving to them. And I think, now I'm going to verse 21. She's not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. And there's no little snow up in that area, so I'm not sure why it's mentioned. But I know it can get cold. And scarlet, whoever studies these type of things, they don't really know if the word scarlet means what we think of it as a red color. It could be dye, but they could say it also means double garments, which is why it's associated with snow. It's cold outside, and she's going to make sure her family is warm with double garments. Who knows? It could be the red color. I don't know. No one really knows, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll take verse 22, and correct me if I don't know how to say this word. She makes tapestry,
Yeah.
or is it tapestry?
Tapestry.
Tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. So she makes her own clothing out of fine linen, and she cares what she wears. It has to be the finest. And the color purple, I thought was interesting, in Bible times is a symbol of prestige, royalty, and nobility. I thought that was interesting. Verse 23, her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. He is respected. He's well known in the community due to his wife's hard work and reputation. I thought that was interesting to know. And the gates basically means the central location of a town or community where there's gatherings or what's another thing, business or legal matters going on. So that would be the gates. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies sashes for the merchants. She weaves linen, like we were talking about a while ago, and linen, believe it or not, is a symbol of purity in Bible times. She provides sashes for the merchants. I didn't know what a sash was. I'm sorry, I don't. It's a long strip or loop of clothing worn over one shoulder, kind of like this. Like pageants, for example, they wear the sash to explain who they are. Miss America, for example, but in this case, apparently it was something of a prestige, of honor, to wear that. So she would provide that for the merchants, for the people that were coming there to buy. I guess merchant, isn't that somebody who purchases something, I would think. Yeah. And so she sells the sashes, showing that she's industrious and that her work is extending beyond just her home. Then verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She is strong, she is confident, and she will rejoice to time to come as she has faith in God's promises, and that whatever she goes through in life, she knows that God is going to come through for her, that he's going to be there for her. And finally, for me, verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. So she's full of wisdom and grace, and her tongue the tongue is a very small organ of our bodies, but when we use it in words, in verbal usage, we need to be careful. It can destroy people. It really can. It can stomp all over people's hearts if we're not careful. And we really need to use it gently for the Lord. So that would be the law of kindness. She's very gentle. She's graceful in her words with other people. Yeah. So
Verse 27. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Like I said, she's not just sitting around being lazy. And I like that phrase, she watches over. She's observant of her family. She's not some mom or wife who has her own agenda, her own path, and care less about whatever is going on. She cares about what's going on in her family. How was her husband's day? What about her children? What are their needs, their emotions, anything they're going through, even to today's time? Your children go to school. How can you help them? Do you think they're sad, or if they got something nice to say? So she's observant of her household. She loves them. Verse 28. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. So her family can't help but see what a blessing she is to them. And they're the ones who know her best. When you're out in the workforce, I would say your family knows you better than anyone else. And so for them to call her blessed and to praise her, that's a beautiful thing. And verse 29, this is the husband speaking. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. And that phrase, daughters, can be kind of confusing. I looked it up. It can mean daughter, but I know back in the Old Testament, it mentions several wives that some men had for whatever reasons. But this is a woman who is above that. There's no equal to this woman in his eyes. Verse 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So charm can be deceitful if you're putting up a front. You're not letting your husband or anyone else see what's really inside of you. Like if you're not a Christian, you don't have a kind heart, you're putting on a show, like this is who I am. That's not kind. And beauty is passing. However the world thinks of beauty or whatever, you're gonna age one day if God gives you those many years. But it's your inner beauty that will last. A woman who fears the Lord, that's the most important thing, and she shall be praised for that. Verse 31, give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. So she's not praising herself. She's not doing all these things for her own glory. She is a compassionate woman. She's a virtuous woman. She cares about her family. And most importantly, she cares about the Lord and what He wants for her life. So she's going to be rewarded by God. That's the end of these verses. When I was doing some research on this, I'd forgotten about this. I heard about it some time ago. But each of these verses starts with a Hebrew letter of the alphabet consecutively. So in English language, that'd be A, B, C, D. And it's the same for this. So you could call it the ABCs of the Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah.
And it could be a little intimidating, this passage, like, oh, this woman is so perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect woman. I'm sure she had her bad days. No one can do it all in one day. She had to learn this. She didn't learn this all in a day. She had to watch what her mother or her grandmother did. And it's the same for us today. If you don't have this type of woman in your life, ask God to give you one, to be an example. Ask for a mentor, rather in your church or an older friend.
Yeah.
Because it's important, and so that you yourself can have these characteristics. It's not really what she does that's most important if her heart's not in the right place.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's it. I hope that this encouraged you, and if you're struggling in any of these ways, don't be discouraged. Just ask God to help you, and that you will be a woman who fears the Lord first. So,
Right.
We hope that you like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. God bless you all. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.